Hey, True Believers, Englentine here with another First Appearance Friday. This superhero secret origin comes to us from Milestone Comics. In 1993, they brokered a deal with DC Comics. DC Comics had publishing and distributing rights, but Milestone controlled the characters. Now they created characters such as Blood Syndicate, Icon, Hardware, but as we all know, every superhero universe, in this case we have the Dakotaverse, needs their version of Spider-Man, and for this one, it was Static. Let's face it, most 90s kids know Static from the cartoon Static Shock. An interesting thing, that cartoon at the time was only one of 3 cartoons out that featured characters from the DCAU, which would also include Superman and Batman. There you go, gang. The DCAU Trinity includes Static, not Wonder Woman. It's Batman, Superman, and Static. And anyway, he also made cameo appearances in Young Justice. He made a cameo as an adult in the Justice League. He was a bounty for the villain DLC in the DC Online game. He was incorporated into the DC universe, part of the Titans. And Static ended up getting a little series during the New 52. I guess there's some things I have to go back and read that happened in the New 52. That is a blank spot. I've read some of it, but not all. I really do. Maybe I'll just do a series of videos on that, really that bad or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, oh, and one more. There was a framed copy on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's wall in his TV show there. So anyway, that's a little backstory and a little bit of an origin of Static. Before we get started, here is a clue to next week's superhero secret origin on First Appearance Friday. So don't miss it. Make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you have that notification bell rung. And if you don't mind helping out the channel, go on over to Patreon and Ko-Fi. Links are in the description below. So without further ado, let's dive into Static number 1. Oh yeah, man, I forgot how popular those X hats were back in the day. Holy Toledo. So this is the cover you would have seen if you actually read the book Static. I like the logo. I like the way it's all warped and everything. This is my favorite of the two because basically the white stands out against the blue. I like the pose. It's more dynamic of a cover than the cover that was inside of the polybagged version, and that's this right here. See the orange and the yellow? It just doesn't play well. I'm not saying it's horrible. It's just, I'm not a big fan of it. Yeah. And by the way, on both of them, you don't start none, there won't be none. Wow, does that in itself date this? If the X hat didn't date it, that saying did. Alrighty, enough with the cover. Let's get on to the story. Well, first we'll talk about the credits and everything, because I think that's kind of funny. Mainly because it pulls a scene out of the comics where he's like, think you, sounding like a very Caucasian Ed Sullivan. So also we get the credits, and we see, of course, Trial by Fire, written by Dwayne McDuffie, Robert L. Washington III, John Paul Leon as the penciler, Steve Mitchell the inker, Noelle C. Giddings as colorist, not as she is, and Steve Haney as the letterer. Why am I saying that like they're acting? They're just creating. They are doing this. It's not as anything. So anyway, let's get to the story. The city is Dakota. The neighborhood is Sadler. The place is Akkad's Arcade. The young woman is Frida Gorin. The hand is Straight Up Penguin, 1992.
Teach her my French flipper trick.
Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit nitpicky, but first of all, let's start on the hand, which we have no line separating the pinky and the ring finger on that hand, which makes it look like the flipper. The index finger looks like there's an index finger at the end of the index finger. Same with the middle finger. And from the bottom of the hand to the tip of the middle finger, holy Toledo, her penis must be huge. Frida walks into the arcade. These are not Frida's friends, but they are here to see her. Is that her? Uh-huh. Hot Streak wants to meet you. Let's go for a ride. Go find a tree to sniff, loser. Now, in the 90s, tree sniffing was not a thing. We licked toads. There's a difference. Not much of one. We're not proud. It was just a thing we did. Don't you know it's an honor to get some attention from excuse me, home team? I hate to ask this of such a suave and debonair group of gigolobos, but has anyone ever sat down with you and discussed dating etiquette? Or if your soul is ready to enter the kingdom of heaven? Here, take this literature. The first appearance of Static, ladies and gentlemen, as we see he's randomly firing electricity everywhere except for at the bad guys. What kind of damage is he causing? We don't know. It is cool to note, though, that Frida's hand problem has been transferred to the guy behind Static, and for some reason this story was called Burning Sensation. Oh, that implies so much. So Static lays down the gauntlet by saying, okay, ladies, who's first? One guy shouts at me and takes a punch, but is blocked by what looks like electricity. How? What? It's an electrostatic force field, and when I wrap it around my fist, I call it my taser punch, and he punches the guy in the face. Now, the rest of you ready to give up? And one of the guys says, kick his monkey butt. We see more guys come after Static. Careful, guys. Mommy told me not to get my play clothes messed up. Holy crap, she's strict. The whole purpose of play clothes is those are the clothes you're allowed to mess up. Tell you what, since you guys want to wrestle, you can do it with each other.
Hey, phrasing!
See what happens when you go around trying to pet strange men in costumes?
So, we're just done with phrasing, right? That's not a thing anymore?
The battle continues. Static sees one of the gang members grabs onto his metal disc flyer boardy thing, for which Static then looks like he kills him. He throws him into a big hunk of metal in the ceiling and then through a video game, which, by the way, doesn't the shop owner have to replace? I mean, the Static doesn't exactly look like he's throwing a wad of bills down to pay for it. So Static notices a couple of gang members trying to escape, one of which is in his underwear, so I guess the wrestling match went well during the battle. Of course, Static can't stand the sight of two guys in love, so he decides to fire a bolt at them, making sure that he kills them, throwing them into a car. Yes, he starts to celebrate, and so do the crowds. Thank you. Thank you. It's a really big shoe. Really big shoe tonight. Thank you. So he goes to Frida. Apparently he knows her because he's saying to himself, remember, you don't know her. You don't know her. Well, I can see why they wanted to take you home. You all right, precious? I'm fine, thank you. For the help, I mean. Thank you for the help, not I'm fine, thank you. That sounds dumb, and my name is Frida, not Precious. Well, it ought to be Precious, Frida. May I escort you home? Gee, thanks, but I don't usually date boys wearing masks. That's not a date, Frida. That's... Wow, you don't get pregnant from a kiss either. Of course, Static takes this rejection in stride and flies away with a last little joke that's Next, we see Static fly into a building as he changes clothes, and he says to himself that he's going to count it down. And as he's going by 75 Mississippi, 76 Mississippi, he makes it home, but unfortunately does something I did as a kid too. You slam the screen door. Virgil, get your breaking speed records to go no place self back down these stairs now. Yeah, Mom? Don't yeah me. Why'd you slam the screen door? Your father hasn't even had time to fix it from the last time you broke it. I know you're not ripping and running to get to your lesson, are you, Virgil? That means a beating for those of you raised in the post-capital punishment era of America. We then get to see his sister basically give him the business as she understands that he wants to get up to the phone to talk to Frida, who should be getting home, and eventually he does. The mom yells at the little girl for giving him a hard time, and he's going upstairs counting. But if you time the counting from 75 to now he's in the 90s, it should be way into the hundreds at this point. But that's just if you want to be nitpicky. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He jumps on the bed at the time the phone rings and says, hey, Frida. She doesn't like that because he's got it timed down, and mentions it and says, hey, you wouldn't be able to guess who was at the arcade today. Of course, he gives a few jokes to her, and I'm sorry, but this is pure friend zone right here. And it is something to note that Virgil has both an icon and a Batman poster in his room, both drawn very poorly. And after a few flirtations, Frida's actually able to get out the story of how Static saved his life. It's not a bad scene and all. It establishes a connection between the two. She never denies, nor does she accept the fact that he is the boyfriend, though. And I don't know if that's on purpose, but truly I do think this is a friend zone thing. The next morning we see that maybe he and Frida really did stay up late talking, and as he gets back downstairs with his mom, they have a nice casual conversation where she agrees to take him to school. Not a lot of information, just a good character moment. And it shows how different a teenager can act around his family versus how he acts around his friends. As we see in the next scene, it's a complete juxtaposition from what we see in his character here. Ernest Hemingway High School. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Frida Gorin Show. With a special guest stars Larry, I'm Much Cooler Than You, Wade, and Dance Master Rick Stone. On today's episode, when Frida misunderstands her dad's suggestions that she become a working girl, can Larry and Rick ward off the local players before it's too late? Damn, can't you just say hi like everyone else? Richard, darling, your performance yesterday's performance at Assembly was simply smashing. Listen, jerk, I worked hard on that piece. I don't have to listen to your limp dick gags. Language. Lighten up, Rick. He was joking. It wasn't like he was saying you're really a or nothing.
Awkward.
Yeah, I didn't mean it like that. I really thought it was good. You probably do have a lot of people who try and think you're queer, what with the ballet and all. I'm sorry, man.
Mitch, cut it out.
Yo, Frida, want some rhino chips? No, I'm on a diet. My butt is the size of a Buick. Really? You'd think I'd have noticed, considering I've been trying to look up your skirt all morning. The social justice types are gonna have a field day with this video. I didn't write the book, gang. So when Frida goes into the classroom, Virgil stops. What's his name, Larry? Yeah, Larry, and he says, hey, I got a question for you. Larry gives him a little lip about wanting money, but Virgil says, no, me and Frida, our relationship is gonna go to the next level. And Larry tries to warn him that, you know what, it seems like there's more of a friendship vibe here, which kind of makes me think that maybe the reason why Virgil feels, or to me feels like he's on the friend zone, that Larry's the actual guy. She did arrive with him at school, just saying. And so we see a scene in homeroom, and literally they just show it and say, nothing's happening. Until, yo, 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 what's up? Actually, that came after this book, by the way. Will Miss Frida Gorin please report to the principal? Hot streaks off the donkey. Let's try that again. Will Miss Frida Gorin please report to Principal Hot Streak's office immediately? A detail of hall monitors has been sent to escort you. Okay, Arsenio, the monologue is over. You could take your seat, your friends can take a hike. And I think I'll ask you to empty your pockets for me before you sit. Hey, Teach, you want to check for deadly weapons? This is the only one I got. I'll have to take your word for it. All the microscopes are in the chemistry lab. So the member of the 5-alarm crew doesn't like her taking a shot at him, so he pulls a gun, and others pull a gun on Larry, who looks like he's going to get a move, and Larry suggests to Verge that he distract them while he pulls his shotty. That's short for shotgun. That means somewhere in that suit, he is hiding a shotgun, of all things. Now, granted, this is before Columbine, so take that as you will. And we see that Virgil's talking from behind a bush where we can presume that he's changing his costume, and then not able to find a manhole cover to fly off on, he instead picks up a metallic garbage can. Cut 2. The playground of Winship Elementary School was once the domain of the grade school set. Its convenient proximity to both Hemingway High and a party store where the owner isn't too particular about ID has changed both the age and activities of its patron. What's this all about? You had your boys drag me all the way out here just so I could diss you to your face? What can I say? I'm a sucker for a pretty face. Serious up, why you got to be like that? I got all these fine women sweating me, and I decides to pick you out for an evening. You got nothing for me but what? What? Static, that's what. Now, ordinarily, I'd be crazy mad when I get burned, I burn back. But not this time, 'cause this time, Static is exactly what I want. And from what I hear, what Static wants is you. See, I've been looking for that light bulb eating duck. I thought I was gonna have to track down his monkey ass. Who knew he was gonna be dumb enough to get between me and my girlie? I'm not anybody's girlie, alright? But if you want some so bad, why don't you take this? Good thing you tried this in the morning, 'cause Static is gonna have you for breakfast. Wrong 2 times, baby pop. All the fine girls in school are mine. This whole school is mine. But if old Electric Shave can't work it, I definitely got breakfast for him. I brought my own, thanks. I can't honestly say I know what they're talking about, but for some reason, I really am craving some French toast. So Static postures for a little bit until Frida yells, "Hey Static, watch out! He's really fast and he can throw fire and burn things," and then we see Hot Streak throw some burning coins at him. I have to admit to liking this particular page. So he throws the coins. Static, of course, makes the joke, "What do you think, I'm a panhandler or something?" while he's throwing up a shield, and he even says, "I barely got my shield up in time, this guy's fat," and we see Hot Streak immediately hit him. Of course, he only breaks up the shield. I thought that was a really smart move, you know, because we oftentimes just see one action and then the end, then the other. This is 2 actions in one from Hot Streak, and that's from the villain. That kind of maneuvering you only usually see from the hero, so good on them. I really dug that page worth of combat. Especially now it seems like if you read his jokes or his quips, it feels like desperation rather than bravado, you know? And yeah, you just don't see that kind of thing too much. And so I've got to give props to Dwayne McDuffie, like I don't always. Static wraps him up in metal chains, and as he moves closer, it seems like he recognizes him but cannot believe who it is. And as he's stunned for a moment, we see that Hot Streak breaks free and begins to beat the hell out of him in probably the most awkward sound effects ever for the times. Losing your nerve up close, huh? Can't say I blame you, fap, 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 fap. You gotta understand, nobody fapped. And I'm just talking about the language. We didn't fap, we adjusted the handbrake, we auditioned the puppet, we beat both the bishop and the meat. We bopped the baloney and beat it. We choked the chicken, dated Rosie Palm and her 5 sisters, did the 5-knuckle shuffle, engaged in safe sex, flogged the log, got the German soldier to speak. We gave it a tug, held the sausage hostage, jerking the gherkin. We liquidated our inventory while making the world safe for democracy. We held a 1-gun salute, opening the floodgates, playing pocket pool, polished the rocket, pulling the pud, and practicing safe sex. Rubbing one out, scratching the itch, slapping the salami, taking matters into our own hands, we tossed off, unloading the gun, varnishing the flagpole, waking the dead, whacked off, worked without a net, wordplay, and yanked the crank. But what we never did was fap. Sound effects aside, I'm actually really impressed with the writing here, just based on the fact that they had Virgil go down, begging him to stop after getting a beating like that. Of course, this just prompts the villain to, bad talk him, tell him that, he ain't worth it and that he must pay people to talk about him, so he's got a reputation. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he was saying. So Hot Streak turns to Frida and says, "That your boy down there? Let him take you to the prom. I ever see either one of you in my school, in my yard, in my city, in my face, and you're smoke." "I don't understand. You had him on the run." "You don't understand. I can't fight him. I can't beat him. I can't. And she says, "Shh, it's okay. It's not okay." And he takes off her mask to show, "You don't understand." And then she's surprised to see it's Virgil under the mask. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the very first appearance of Static. Wow. All right. So that was the first appearance of Static. And what do I think? I think it was actually pretty good. I like the fact that it took time to build up some side characters. It took time for us to know everybody. Even that quiet moment in the dining room with his mom at breakfast, that could have easily been edited out. And it played off as a contrast to her yelling at him the day before. So I think it was definitely needed. This was not written for the trades. You got all the story you needed, and still you got a full story and a continuation, a cliffhanger. And yeah, I dug it. I don't remember it being so vulgar in places, if that's the proper term to use. I don't know if it was actually vulgar. It's just kind of shocking, ha ha ha, because I'm used to seeing Static Shock, and I forgot what Static was actually about. And basically all of the books in Milestone were kind of like this. So yeah, very entertaining. But what did you guys think? What did you think about Static's first appearance? And what did you think about this video? I'm going to be honest with you. None of these videos so far have been what I call hits, which means they have to get 10% of the sub count. And I understand while it says 10,000, I actually think I only have about 600 or 700 subs. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think, because none of these videos are actually making enough views for me to continue, so I need the interaction. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what you think of the first appearance. What would you like to see next? I need to know that there are some people watching these and some people wanting to continue. And please do that in the comment section below. Also, click like, share, get word out about the video and the channel. If you haven't done it already, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. I gave you a little preview, a very obvious preview of what's coming next. But yeah, cool things happen around here. You don't want to miss anything. Also, if you don't mind helping out the channel, go on over to Patreon or to Ko-Fi. There is supporter-only content, so you do get a bang for your dollar if you drop $1 in the till. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that. And to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.